Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another video from Oscar Cooper. And yes, we are looking at Chronos Before the Ashes, which is kind of this spiritual prequel to Remnant from the Ashes. Set in the fantasy universe before Remnant from the Ashes, it sort of tells the story of how Ward 13 stuff all happened. There's only melee combat, okay, so far. It's very sword and shield based. Get that? I know. So they've taken away the guns and made it an exact Souls clone this time. No deviation whatsoever. However, there are some nuances. Light and hard attacks and combinations of produce some pretty flurrying moves. You've got a shield bash on L2, which is cool, and block is L1. And you do have some kind of magic that sort of gives you this buff with the attacks, and you can also put something on your weapon like you would in Dark Souls, like a sheath, which also gives you buffs attacks. And I think this minimal UI or minimal HUD is really cool actually. You only really got your stamina over there, the magic meter and your health, that's it, full stop. I like the flushness of the appearance, and the game is a lot smoother with frame rates and with its graphical design than Remnant from the Ashes. It's obviously a cheaper game. This is £25 and you'll see that it's just a little rough around the edges in certain areas. Every time you die, it's a bit like Dark Souls 2, every time you die you get an age put on you. What am I at the moment? This is 20, I'm 22 at this footage. I'm about age 30. It's a death a year, and once you get to 80, I think it's game over, but you get buffs or perks at 20, 40, 60. Some of them are massive changes with your health or with your attack. So, and there's also loot, but as with a lot of their previous games, it's not everywhere. So one of the main differences is that you can't rest at these crystals or stones or bonfires. You never get your health back for doing that, and you have to die for things to respawn, and you get sent back to the nearest one that you were last operating from. It's doing my nut in with its puzzles. It's really puzzle heavy. Remnant from the Ashes had a few puzzles speckled in, but it was the gunplay and the combat that attracted me, and it's kind of the sword and shield combat that's attracting me with this, but it is peppered with massive amounts of really brain-bending puzzles. And the map, there's no overhead map or anything like that, mini-map, none of that. You will have to just learn the layout of this quite samey looking and twisty, complicated castle that you start in. Doing a really cool thing with size and playing around with the ideas of it. It goes full borrowers on you, and you shrink into this closet to get this secret code thing that you've got to take a screen grab of, because I can't remember more than 7 numbers in conjunction. I'm kind of getting a bit fatigued with the puzzles, but I love the idea how they've changed up the enemies within this cabinet itself. You can see in the main game, and you can see the loot that you need to get. I never thought it would shrink me to the size to get through the actual portal. Brilliant. And also, I'm aging quite well. I started as a 18-year-old boy, and now I'm getting a bit stubble and starting to look a bit haggard, which I can definitely sympathise with. This magic mirror has been the bane of my life. You have to get these combinations, and lo and behold, just like Resident Evil 2 and 3 kept doing, there's this like button missing or like a fucking letter missing, so you can't do the final, and you've got to go walking around turning over stones and the lot and backtracking, and that stuff annoys me. You didn't see any of that Remnant from the Ashes. But let's get back to the combat, because I think this is where its strengths are. It's fluid. It feels sticky at first, but you actually get into it. And the roll-in is on a directional basis, so you need to be careful you don't roll into the attack. You've actually got to push a direction to get some side or backwards action going. But it's cool, and it looks cool, and it sounds cool. And for 24 quid... Back to the size thing, this is the giant dude you saw earlier, but once you get past the portal puzzle, you come through that mirror his size. I thought that was a brilliant idea to get to see or fight him as a big old badass as well. And I'm also enjoying the different weapon types. The hammer has got a slight AoE effect, it's got a different build move, there's some variety there. There's certainly a lot of difference in its stats with its massive amounts of damage, but of course slow wielding capability. There's still the take the heart thing and the standing still of it, but as you can see, I've only got 2 dragon hearts at the moment, so things are very scarce, and the time taken to actually get one on takes ages as well. You can't run either, so you've really got to look for your window to make sure you take your health. Just like Remnant from the Ashes, there's been no change there. What I have seen is all the enemies are different. They seem to be shorter. Everything is like squatted in this game, and it's all masked as well. All in canon with the cool designs of the enemies in the previous game. Now the upgrade system works like it does in the previous game as well, with giving you pluses on certain weapons that you pump upgrades into. The shield can't be upgraded so far, not the one I've found, but my hammer and my axe and my sword could all have pluses put onto them from these shards that were found in the ground. I could do that whenever I wanted. I didn't have to go to a smithy. There is a smithy, however, but he's not unlocked for me yet. I have to turn over more annoying stones to work out what the hell it is that he wants. You're also doing your stats just like in Dark Souls on the fly as well. You don't have to do this at the stones or the bonfires. You can just push options and start tapping around with the numbers. This fight's pretty cool. There goes my buff. This guy is really quite formidable for an early on enemy, but I've come back to him with some decent equipment. Now what I want to point out is the cancel. There's no major move cancelling, and there's also a slight delay on cooldown with certain big moves and putting a shield up or doing a shield bash. That's the stickiness I was talking about. There is a certain amount of commitment when it comes to the hard moves. Godfall is going through this process at the moment, but not doing too well. And this, for £24, I'll probably say hand on heart, this is a hell of a lot better than Godfall. Christ. Godfall retails at like 70 quid. I think the only person who's singing his praises still is poor old Eric. So, yeah, moving on. So what's my verdict on this? Because I think so far I've given a sort of speckled idea of whether I like it or not. I love the combat. I really love the canon of having more Remnant and more Remnant story and characters and all the designs of the enemies, and that really tight combat is still there. It feels like it's sort of seeded, you know, from Remnant and got this lovely melee lick of paint over it. What I've got a problem with is I've got a horrible feeling that there's too much backtracking and a lot of padding's been put in with these annoyingly difficult puzzles. And for me, I don't come to the series for puzzles. I want that combat. I imagine there'll be more of it further down the line, i.e. massively hard combat and big boss enemies. But so far at the moment, I'm seeing a lot of backtracking, trying out useless stuff into slots and just process of elimination that I don't like. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a very patient guy in that direction. But what I do have a lot of patience for is really hard combat, getting my head around techniques and upgrading weapons and stuff, and I'm finding that here everywhere. For the cost, it's perfect. If you finish Remnant like 18 times over from the Ashes in brackets like me, then this is a great place to come for loads more of that cool stuff. Not being an online multiplayer co-op game also takes its toll on the idea of this, but I think it should be around. I like the idea that they've just come up with it and thought, let's really strip down Remnant from the Ashes as a game model and give them a cool melee game. And we've got it. It's cool and it's cheap, so haven't wasted 70 quid on a PlayStation 5 exclusive. Talking of exclusives, I've got the best PlayStation 4 exclusive video coming out very shortly. I don't actually own a PlayStation 5 yet. I am due one very soon, so I'll keep you posted on that content. As always, I'll keep a see you down there.